Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your support. Well, are you ready for something different? A lot of us are. We're tired of the same old, same old. I can only listen to, the music of my youth so much. I don't really need to hear Pink Floyd, the Beatles, and the Eagles or whatever in a steady diet. That's why I kind of started to explore jazz and classical, because I had kind of run out of the music of my youth. Another genre that I got into was avant-garde and experimental music. And this was most rewarding. And today, at the last minute, I decided to put together a stack of albums of this type of music to show you and talk about. Because it's a last minute decision, there's not a lot of background information on each of these. So I will say a few words about each, and if they're sonically spectacular, I'll let you know. Not all are. Some of these are historic recordings. So let's go through a stack of about 20 records here that I think deserve your attention. So I'm going to start with A. Laurie Anderson. I first became aware of Laurie Anderson when I was in Boston. I saw her twice. The first time was at an art institute, the Boston Institute of Contemporary Art. They had a small theater, maybe 25 to 50 seats, and she put on a performance there of some works from her magnum opus, which is called United States. It was just her and her prepared violin and vocoder, so it was very minimalist and it was wonderful. Laurie Anderson is known for her intriguing insights on the human condition, and her words and music are combined in all of her works, particularly effective in this first album called Big Science. You probably have heard a track from this record. It's called Oh Superman. It was a hit, actually. It actually made it onto the radio, which was very interesting because it's so weird. But it's weird for the general public, but they loved it. And it was used in a commercial as well. Big Science showcases some highlights from her magnum opus, United States, and is a good starting point for anyone looking to explore Laurie Anderson. I highly suggest that album. It's sonically really great too. Really good. I have American pressings in Japanese. The American pressing is excellent. This one is an adjunct to that record. This is the complete performance of United States done in 1983 at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. So it's live, and there's something about this that's very special too. It's a great document of a very important work, and for that I recommend it as well. Another artist I saw around this time is the Steve Reich Ensemble. The Steve Reich Ensemble produced some records for ECM. I'm going to show you two of them today. This is called Music for 18 Musicians. And this other one is called Octet, Music for a Large Ensemble. I want my co-host at Everything Classical Music Livestream to look at this because I know he can read music. What do you think of that, Anthony? I can't read music, but I can tell you what it's like. Steve Reich is sort of, he gets lumped into minimalism, but I don't think it's really that. It's very unique. It is patterns of music. So you'll have one instrument repeating a pattern continuously, another one at a slower pace, and another one at a different pace. And they're like moving like this into a fabric of sound, a tapestry almost. And that's what you hear on this record and Music for 18 Musicians. Actually, when you look at the cover of Music for 18 Musicians, you get a sense. It's a pattern. And it's really, really interesting. Very, very good. And good sound, too. Those are highly recommended, both of those. I have one here. Actually, it's three records I'm going to include as one selection. It's not for the faint of heart. They're historical recordings of a pioneering person in the avant-garde, Pierre Henry. These recordings are very hard to get in their original release. This is a reissue by Doxy. They are primitive, recordings with tape manipulation, voices, and found sounds. And they are not like audiophile recordings at all. But they are important, and there are 3 reissues at least on this Doxy label. I have all 3. One is called Hot Voltage Coexistence. One is called Music Without Title. And Spatio Dynamisme. Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce that correctly. La Voix de Orphée. All 3 interesting, not for anyone that's not prepared for what they're going to hear. You need to be prepared for a primitive avant-garde experimental kind of recording. I find it fascinating, but not everyone will, for sure. One that's on the Deutsche Grammophon label that you should know about is this one. It's by Stockhausen. It's called Electronic Music Song of the Youth and Contact. This is a great starting point for Stockhausen if you've never tried one. It's electronic music, voices, and so forth. Very interesting, a beautiful record. This is actually the first pressing on the Tulip label, which is highly desirable. This is a great record. If you haven't heard it, check out Song of the Youth. I think you'll find it very interesting. Another ensemble I saw in Boston around this time was the Philip Glass Ensemble. One of their most famous records, one of his most famous records, is Einstein on the Beach. This is his magnum opus. This is an opera. Not your traditional opera, but there are voices all through it and music. And I would characterize it as minimalist music. It's very repetitive. There's a lot of patterns like Steve Reich. Very similar in that regard, but very unique. And this is a wonderful document of this performance. This is on the Tomato label. This is not a live record, by the way. This is a studio record. This was reissued by CBS Masterworks at some point. The Tomato record is out of print and very hard to find. If someone wants to just start with Philip Glass, there's a lot of easier entry points than Einstein on the Beach. One of the easiest is called Glassworks. It's on CBS Masterworks as well. And there are a couple of soundtracks that are interesting called Koyana Squatsi, The Photographer, and there's a third one. I can't think of the name, but those 2 are good entry points into Philip Glass as well. We can't talk about the avant-garde without talking about John Cage. John Cage, famous avant-garde composer. This is one of his most famous works. It's also on the Tomato label. This is called Sonatas and Interludes for Prepared Piano. Joshua Pierce plays the prepared piano. What is a prepared piano? Well, you see those big screws on the cover? Inside the case for the piano, you'll see screws and bolts and nuts and wood and stuff like that, all bolted down to the strings. So when you're playing the piano, it's playing a totally different sound. It's really interesting. This is a great recording of it. There are others, of course, but this is one that I really like. It also has a track on it called The Book of Music, and that's the first recording of that piece. Let's not have these fall down. I'm going to take some of these out. And we'll go from there. Okay, so another John Cage and another label I want to talk about is Time Records. This is a sealed copy of Concert Percussion, $1.99. Wow. I have an open copy. This is my backup because I love this record. There are 2 John Cage compositions on here. Double Music, which is in combination with Lou Harrison, and Amores. There are percussion, wood blocks, tom-toms, prepared piano, Japanese temple gongs, cowbells. That's the kind of thing you're going to hear on this record. It's wonderful. It says here, Series 2000, Time Series 2000. For those who dare, the exclusive sound extra. And that's absolutely true. This is the Manhattan Percussion Ensemble performing these works. The next one is a sound spectacular from Colombia. You don't think of Columbia Masterworks as producing sound spectaculars, but they had a few, and this is one of them. The music of Edgar Varese. This is a famous record by Robert Kraft, conducting the Columbia Symphony Orchestra in works by Edgar Varese. And this is where most people first heard Arcana. I've reviewed the Decca version of Arcana by Zubin Mehta in its own video. You can check out that video for a more in-depth look at Arcana, but you're going to hear all kinds of instruments on this that are combined in a way that's very unique, and it's a famous, famous piece and a famous record. That's highly recommended as well. One here from Gale Records, a company you don't see much of. This is actually a box set, very luxurious. Gale Records was an audiophile label. It says here, caution. Gale maximum fidelity recordings are intended for use with high fidelity equipment only, and so forth. They're great. They come with like a warranty and a registration card and so forth. They are very special records. This is one of the most special. It's called Music for Percussion Volume 1, Tristan Fry Percussion Ensemble, conductor John Elliott Gardner. And the main piece on here is the Toccata for Percussion Instruments by Carlos Chavez, a very famous piece. There are also pieces by Havas on here. So this is highly regarded, very good. I recommend it. I think it's great. We can't talk about the avant-garde without talking about, or modern music, without talking about Nonesuch. Nonesuch had a small series, and you'll recognize it by these white covers. They're not like the other Nonesuch records. These were produced by Teresa Stern. And Teresa Stern had a vision for this series, and she stuck to it, and they are wonderful. They're also sonic spectaculars in many ways. They're certainly very well recorded and mastered. All the masterings are done by Robert Ludwig, and the pressings are very, very good. Super clean, super quiet. This record was on the Absolute Sound Super Disc list, so it might be a little hard to find. It's called Percussion Music. Works by Varese, Colegrass, Cowell, Saperstein, and Oak, the New Jersey Percussion Ensemble, with Raymond DeRoche, the director. On this, you'll hear one of the famous Edgar Varese compositions called Ionization. And that's a great piece. The amazing thing about this is not only the spectacular sound, but the variety of instruments you're going to hear on here. Bass drum, side drum, snare drums, tambourine, military drum, cymbals, suspended cymbals, tam-tams, gongs, anvils, triangles, sleigh bells, chimes, celesta, piano, Chinese blocks, maracas, castanets, slapstick, lion's roar, and so forth. Xylophones. This on the other tracks there's xylophones, cowbells, timbales, timpani. It's a lot. It's a lot of sound, and you'll love this record. It's one of my favorites. I have a backup copy of this too. I love it. Absolutely love it. Another one in the same vein is from the same series is this one, Charles Wuorien Percussion Symphony, the New Jersey Percussion Ensemble, with Charles Wuorien conducting. Again, a battery of percussion instruments, and this is so fun to listen to. These records are highly recommended. This is also on the Absolute Sound Super Disc list too, and I think it's on Anthony Salvatore's list, both of those as well. If you've never seen his list, it's at High End Audio. Check that out. Another one from that series is this, Macrocosmos Volume 1. There's also a Volume 3 that's highly recommended. This is a composition by George Crumb, and this is 12 fantasy pieces for the Zodiac for amplified piano, David Burge piano. So this is a really interesting record as well. This is, all these are mastered by Robert Ludwig, and they're engineered by Mark Obert. So a very good pedigree. These are great sounding records, and the pressings are wonderful too. I can easily recommend any of those. Got a few more here, and then we'll be done. This one is called Pulse. It's on New World Records. I remember finding this once in my life. This was not a large label by any means, but John Cage, Lou Harrison, Henry Cowell, and Ruth Crawford Seeger works on here. And the John Cage is called Third Construction. Wonderful, wonderful record, great sound. This was Absolute Sound Super Disc List, I believe, and this is the reissue by Classic Records. Yes, they did a reissue of this, and it's great. Both of those are highly recommended. Wonderful percussion type records. Works for percussion. I also have a rare test pressing 45 of the John Cage cut of that album. So I had it here. I don't know what I did with it though. I got so many records all over the place. Okay, last two. I saved the best for last because I really respect this artist as well. These are on Columbia. One is called on Music of Our Time. Harry Partch, The World of Harry Partch. Harry Partch was so outside of everything else. I mean, really a pioneering spirit. Built all of his own instruments from the 40s to when these records were produced. And they are so fascinating to look at. I'm going to show you some close-ups in the next record I'm going to show you. But there's 3 compositions on this: Daphne of the Dunes, Barstow, and Castor and Prolux. But this is a great record from Columbia. You can see some of the instruments here on the back. I'll show you more, but really his masterwork is this. And this is highly recommended. It's called Delusion of the Fury. I just listened to it just before this video, and this is what inspired me to make the video. This is recorded so well, it sounds wonderful. And inside this deluxe box is, these are lined inside with an essay and a booklet. And the booklet shows the instruments. So you can see, I'm going to show you these in close-up. You can see these bizarre instruments, and these are still preserved today. Fabulous. This is a fabulous record. Out of all of these, if you like percussive type sounds and adventurous music, I would say try to find that. But really, I'm in love with all of these records. Maybe without the Pierre Henry, but I love most of them, and I think you will too. Try one of them out. If you'd like to see me do a deep dive into one of these records, I'd be happy to do it. Just let me know in the comments. And until next time, I'm Scott for The Pressing Matters. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Have a great day.